Hello, so welcome back to uh, our second video. Mm, we will be discussing karon would be, of course, the continuation of what we had yesterday. It was we left off with Emil Durkheim, if you recall, and if you can't recall it, then you can watch it again. Anyway, one thing that I have left out in the discussion about Durkheim was here uh, his classification of suicide. By the way, Emil Durkheim had a study on the topic of suicide in 1897. So he saw it as one of the factors uh, has a great influence upon the individual behavior of person in any culture. Of course, it varies by culture how we react or how we display such behavior. But then again, we have the idea that suicide is a universal behavior which has a great effect on other people. Okay. Anyway, Durkheim classified suicide. Uh, First would be altruistic suicide. This would be person feels a deep sense of moral obligation and is willing to place the group's welfare above his or her own survival. So basically, altruistic suicide be the people who would kill themselves for the sake of the cause of a greater good or for other people, such as the cases sa mga school shootings sa America wherein there are there are reported cases of teachers who were willing to die in order to save their students. Such is what we call an altruistic suicide. Anyway, before I forget, as the video lecture is going on, I want to advise that you also take down notes. It's much like having a discussion within the classroom, right? You take down notes while in the classroom. So even if this is a pre-recorded na video, you take down notes and concepts that will be discussed and shown sa inyo you also read about that on your own so that if I ask for a critique, a reaction, or an analysis, dili lang sa nadunggan ninyo nako, but rather you have a pretty good comprehension about a certain concept no, na akong pangalan. So that. Anyway, moving on, we have egoistic suicide. Egoistic suicide would be when people commit suicide uh, because of their own self-interest. This would be one of the most common forms of suicide labi na sa Filipino context. No? We have so many cases wherein lahi-lahi ang reasons. But anyway, so that's the egoistic suicide. Autonomic suicide occurs when a time of great social disorder or turmoil, such as karon. For example, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Actually, nitaas ang cases sa suicide globally. No? It could correlate to the thought or to the idea that we are in a pandemic or whatever the cause is. No? Sa anomic suicide, people would feel great anxiety or depression or a feeling of great helplessness in the face of a global or great a, uh, a social disorder. So what they would do is that they would just end it because for them, basically, it's helpless. It's it's futile to try to survive in such state. Next is fatalistic suicide. It would relate to powerlessness that people feel when their lives are regulated to an intolerable extent. Now you may ask, what's the difference between anomic and fatalistic? That sa anomic suicide, there is a great social turmoil that na dako nga disaster, na pandemic, na so on, right? Sa fatalistic is the feeling of helplessness in the face of a ruling party, a ruling state. No? For example, an example sa fatalistic suicide wherein this suicide which occurred within North Korea, for example, where daghay gigutom, daghay wali pagkaon, they are in the middle of a famine, of course, no? Wala, because of the sanctions sa ilaha, wala food, no, or gamay rang food, gamay rang opportunity for, because it's a communist state. So, there are people who, who really, who will commit suicide because of such state, that they are so powerless, that they cannot control their own lives. They cannot even achieve their own goals because it is restricted by a certain institution, such as the state. So, so back to our uh, theorists or runners, we also have here George Herbert Mead. Now, uh, George Herbert Mead is also known not only in the area of sociology but also in the area of uh, psychology, or in the area of social psychology. He's one of those persons who basically state that, or who first proposed the idea that uh, the social interaction that we have uh, has a great effect on how people develop. Uh, and for example, he argued that individuals come to view himself or herself based to a very large extent on interaction with others. So our social environment has a great impact on how a person sees himself. Now, so he's one of those first theorists that uh, said or that proposed na we are basically a social animal. No? That we're not alone. No? That we have other people. No? Specifically, he coined the term significant others. Generally, significant others uh, would be your parents, your siblings. Those would be your significant others. And as you grow up, you will be having more significant others outside of the family circle. Best friends, teachers, people who you have romantic relationships with. Those people turn into significant others. And the way they perceive you, the way they evaluate you, the way they interact with you basically has a very big impact on who you become or how you behave as a person. Right? And so let's move on. No? So Max Weber. He is best known for his book The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. What he argued about is that many Protestants led to the creation of capitalist societies within within the global scale, and that's basically true. And when yung pangutan, actually this is the question. When I was in high school, I already had this question. Ano mas dato ang Amerika kaysa Pilipinas? Nga ng mga question. Ano mas dato ang European nations, and so on and so forth. One of the answer was given by Max Weber that complementary ang ideologies capitalism that of Protestantism. That So, with that concept, na-mix niya ang religion, ideology of religion, and the concepts within the economic field. Yes, Protestants had this proclivity towards building a capitalist na society. Take a look, for example, sige, let's base it sa US. Daghay industries. It's a capitalist society. I'm not saying it's a bad society. Capitalism is not that bad at all. No, it gives freedom for people to engage in economic activities which gives them a chance in a higher batting average to become successful. That's capitalism. Now, of course, one of the consequences would be there would be what a materialistic society, a too capitalist of a society, society wherein wala na libre. Every service is paid for. Bahalag isa ka baso matubig, provider. So that's an extreme capitalist society. Uh, in the context of capitalism itself, dili siya necessarily bad as what other people would say na they enslave other people. Yes, naay cases or daghay cases labi na sa atong country wherein companies would enslave other people of their service para to get rich. But that's the thing with it, but we it's a gamble in itself. It's a gamble. Okay, so this is a capitalist society. I will apply for a job because it's a gamble. I will gamble my life in this so that maka-earn ko. But I would not settle for that. Right? In many people in their heads would not settle for, okay, fine, you can enslave me for now, but the next time, magtukod ko ang own business. Or the next time, this and that. But there are also good companies in a capitalist society. There are also those companies that they really take care of their employees. Companies who treat their workers as if they were immediate family. But medyo rare na siya because daghan sa mga businessmen and business owners basically wants to profit off you. But that's not a bad thing. They just want to profit. Hindi sila ganahan mo trabaho, so they have a business. So you pay for that. So you're not giving away your money for them because you get something in return. You get a service, a product. And so Max Weber believes that it was difficult, if not impossible, to use standard scientific methods to accurately predict the behavior of groups as people hope to do. Why is that? Because we are dealing with people. We are dealing with human beings, and because of this, uh, it's it's hard to give an accurate prediction of what people would do. You would have a truncated range of options. Anyway, sige ka interrupt tungod sa kuryente. We will be having this most likely six dominant perspectives in sociology karon. First would be the structural functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. And then after that, we will be discussing these three. I will be providing you with readings on that. By anyway, before ko makalimot, there are suggested readings that are posted sa atong Google Classroom. Please check on those readings and then we'll post more soon. But daghan dira ang mga mga readings makatabang sa inyo. You can read for fun if you want. If you like. Anyway, so let's go to the paradigms. First, would be structural functionalism. From the term itself, structure and function. So, society is a structure with interrelated parts designed to meet the biological and social needs of individuals in that society. Uh, that goes to say that each individual plays a certain specific role in society which meets the biological needs of the society and the social needs also. No, so that's functionalism. So you play a certain role and you function within the lines of those roles. So and because of your function, basically, you're part of a certain structure. No, you're part of a certain structure. You're part of a certain institution within society. So you need to play your part so that society will not break down. Because if you will not play your part, if you will not play your role, so you will not meet the needs of society. Example would be, what if you choose nga dili mo eskwela, right? As many of your classmates had uh, voiced out sa ilahang Facebook nga mga post nga kung walay mo enrolled and walay klase and so on and so forth against sila sa online class. Yes, this is very hard for you and it's also very hard for us teachers basically because anad magud mi og face to face nga klase. No, dili lang kamo ang nabag-uhan ani actually. Kami pod nabag-uhan ani and gitrain me for this, but then again not all trainings are sufficient enough pagabot sa actual. No, daghan pa sa amo wala ka ilag Google Classroom. No, only appeared to us nga naday na nga platform mga 2 weeks ago. No. Anyway, so functionalism. So take for example a student will choose nga dili or a young person would choose nga dili mo eskwela, and so what would happen sa iyaha is that say for example dili siya mag-business, dili siya mo eskwela, and so what that person would do is tambay lang siya sa balay, wasting away his life. So what would happen is that that person would not play a certain role, and he will not function for the society, for the good of society. For the lack of better terms sa Binisaya, walay pulos sa katilimban. No? So in that sense, no, some parts will is better cut off sa society than just let it stay there. No? So you now as students ng eskwela mo in your respective course, you're basically functioning as you should, no? And so pag graduate nimo, you will be integrated sa isa ka structure, sa isa ka institution, and so you will be a functional and beneficial nga member sa society. That, you know. So there are practices put within societies, including practices and constructs within societies that are deemed to be functional and beneficial for the society. Take, for example, same-sex marriage. Uy, no, controversial issue. But here's the thing with it. No? One of the biggest opposition with same-sex marriage would be it will not meet the biological need of society. For example, society needs people to get married and butanta bear offsprings so that there would be a continuum within society. So one of the oppositions sa same-sex marriage would be that because if you have two same-sex couples, and how would they procreate? So that, and so if you do not meet the biological needs, how will you meet the social needs? Right. So that's one of the. I'm not going into debate whether it's good or bad. I'm just putting it out there for you to look at, for you to read on. No, and you might say it's biased. Yes, of course it's biased. That's why we have perspectives. That's why we have theories. to explain things because one theory cannot just explain a whole complex nga phenomena. So you we have what we call social institutions, structural functionalism, example, government, education, family, healthcare, religion, economy. So those are social institutions. It meets the needs society. And also those institutions must these institutions must play their part also. For them to play their part, then the individual person must play their part as well. So that as part of the structure, they work better, so the government work better, and so on and so on. Take for example, what if ang isa katao kawatan and he would run for presidency, and then what would happen is mangawat siya within the presidency, within sa iyang power, within the means sa iyang power, iyang iyang kurakuton ang funds, for example. What would happen is that that institution would basically be dysfunctional. It would not function as it should. Fuera de los Buenos, for example, grabe ka rampant ang police brutality sa US. I'm not going into the Black Lives Matter issue. I'm just pointing it out. Grabe ang cases sa ilahang abuse sa ilang power. So that's part of the signs that some some departments within the government are dysfunctional. And so therein lies the question, what should we do with them? No? Education, no, that's part of the social institutions. What if ang educational system nato is outdated, such as what we have karon? No? We have teachers sa DepEd nag-struggle og nag-struggle og yeah, og handle sa ilang classes, no, not only sa basic, no. Why is this? Because in the first place, many of our educational institutions failed to provide the facility for such, no. So ina, and no, ang pinaka basic yan is ang family is the most and the basic social institution. If you want to destroy a society, you destroy the family first. And religion is there. Religion is as much as medyo negative ang connotation sa labi na sa mga Western societies. But religion is basically one of the glue that would stick society together. So, of course, economy. What would you do to a very hard-working father and then halos mabuktot nagtinabaho, but at the end of the day, he's just enslaved by the system. So, no, so all of these institutions must work together. No, ideally for the society to benefit. Okay, they work together. So, So it can't adequately explain social change mukod sa structural functionalism. Because if you have a structural functionalism na perspective, medyo conservative siya actually. Conservative siya in a way nga because this thing works, it must stay there, right? So wala kayo change. So it can't adequately explain social change in a bigger picture. So repetitive behavior patterns are shown to have function, yet we profess to know that they have a function only because they are repeated. So because of tradition, but because of tradition, we would be saying, oh, this has a function, in anime, because we're doing this because it plays a certain role, and the question is, what does it play? How does it help? And basically, wala tayong matubag. No? So that. So conflict theory, kang Karl Marx. So we ako na explain different social classes, struggle for resources, political, material, social resources. The good thing about conflict theory is that it creates stronger societies. If there's a conflict, conflicts bring about changes in societies. Whether the society is ready or not, conflict is always knocking at the door. And if this would be like a litmus test for society, whether you would withstand the invasion or not. So this conflict creates a stronger society. When the Spaniards came, what happened to us? We were invaded easily. Now we can use that as an argument that we are a weak society, but here we are now, we with our own nationality. So I don't think we're that weak at all. Right? So conflict theory brings about changes, wars. It brings about changes in society. If dili siya maka-survive sa conflict, then basically that society will perish, will fade into the pictures of history in itself. No, just look at the American Indians. They're just a bunch of people they're just butanta, located in one locality. They have their own nation. They once roamed America as butanta, as its native nga inhabitants. But now karon mura sila og foreign inhabitants sa ilang own land. So, that. Criticisms on conflict theory. Of course, conflict theory has been criticized because it tends to focus on conflict to the exclusion of recognizing stability. Yes, that's true. Because at some point, you needed to explain that societies do not necessarily need a constant barrage of conflicts and wars, but it also needs a certain time frame of stability so that it would go strong. Right? So, many social structures are extremely stable or have gradually progressed over time rather than changing abruptly, as conflict theory would suggest. But then again, we have what we call micro level analysis, where it did not change abruptly because of a big conflict, but rather it changed time. It changed through time, little by little, because of conflict, because of opposition. Ang gitawag ni, it's called a dialectic. No? So you have uh, a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis. Everything must go through the process of dialectic, so that uh, we would know, no, even your ideas, right? For example, you have a certain idea, no? It must go through a dialectic na process so that you would know that this idea is correct and that it's not wrong, or rather, this idea is strong, this argument is strong. So it must undergo that. Symbolic interaction is theory. Symbolic interaction would be it argues that people make sense of their social world through exchange of meaning through language and symbols. Diri mo sulod to kang mid tong language, and with language we have symbols. Of course, we have the numerical symbols, we have the alphabet, and all other symbols, icons. So we make sense of the social world through those exchanges and how we value those things that we ascribe those language and symbols. One thing with symbolic interactionism theory is that we have this concept of constructivism. Constructivism proposed that we actively and cognitively construct our social world. How do we do that? We interact with others. Uh,
those constructs that last over time are those that have meanings which are widely agreed upon or generally accepted by most within the society. So we construct these certain behaviors, no, we construct our world as it should be, no. Dili lang sa sociology, even in the realm of psychology, Jean Piaget, no, proposed that we actively construct our world, no, or how we make it to be. And so, with the meaning that we ascribe to what we've created, what we have constructed, we orient our behavior towards those meanings. Criticisms as symbolic interaction. Research done for this from this perspective is often scrutinized because of the difficulty of remaining objective. Yes, it's very subjective because and data used in this theory, of course, would be uh, about feelings, no? So it would be reported feelings, reported perceptions, which are basically subjective. Narrow iyang focus, yes. Symbolic interaction, narrow iyang focus. It focus on, but it's good, right? For example, we as Filipino people, we place values on pagmano po, right? Sa Bisaya pag amin. So that's not a very complex nga gesture. You take the hand, put it sa imong forehead. By that, you're basically following the notion that you are respecting this person. That so narrow siya, right? But the value that we have ascribed to that behavior is very weighty, right? If dili ka mo amin sa imong elderly, no? Example, no? You would be blatantly expressing yourself as somebody who is disrespectful to those who are older than you. So other theories, no, what I can discuss, evolutionary theory. Of course, you know Charles Darwin, right? And you're familiar with him, no? And of course, evolutionary theory, naagianan niyo sa inyong STS, right? Evolutionary theory would be, it proposes that on the sociology area is that we're constantly we're constantly evolving as a as a society. And so the more we evolve, the more complicated it gets for societies. You know? The more siya magka-complicate, the more siya magka-bureaucratic, the more siya magka-chaotic. And so that is the evolutionary theory. So from simple societies, we evolved from simple to complex. So, but personally, of course, no, I would like to say that I am I am I don't necessarily agree with evolutionary perspective in Darwin. No. But I do believe in the concept of adaptation as a not over millions of years, but with every conflict that we face, no, we always adapt. No? So I believe in that notion of adaptation. So uh, in some sense, we evolve through adaptation. We adapt to certain circumstances because, in many cases, those who fail to adapt, of course, they perish and die. So, in societies nga constantly evolve, we constantly adapt to the changes so that this society that we have will not perish and die. Maka apas pata, no? Maka ride with the times. So, with the advent of technology, for example, we don't stick with the old, right? And so, with the advent of technology, if night change, and so we train ourselves to adapt to that something new, so that of course, no, must survive that. Even sa inyong workplace, even sa inyong work po, even as you think that everything is stable, everything will always things will always change. So you always have to adapt. Why? So that you will survive. So that's evolutionary theory. Uh, you can read on that. No? Ako na siya gituyo. Yes, muangkon ko that uh, these theories might explain themselves better if matag na ko ang reference. But naay references, yes, these are topics included on the suggested topics ang akong or suggested readings nga akong gi-post sa inyuhang Google Classroom. Palayo kong tanawa to. There are interesting nga mga books there. Also included gi-include na ako dito ang isa ka book, Lord of the Flies. It's one of the most butanta amazing book that depicts the dark side of human societies. No? Uh, Next is exchange theory. So sa exchange theory, uh, wait lang. Okay, na ay nag-submit of files. Anyway, hopefully you have submitted your files already. I am in the process of downloading every file nga inyong gisend. And ang maulahi, I'm really sorry, no? Bawi lang ta. Munang tawag nga bawi lang ta hantud mo mabawian ta. But anyway, we have exchange theory. So what is exchange theory, by the way? Exchange theory would be uh, everything that we interact with sa society, we do an exchange. When we talk with other people, we exchange information. When we interact with institutions, we exchange things, like we buy things. No? Even emotions, everything is a sa exchange theory, everything is a commodity. No? We barter everything so that what we have is that we exchange things for things that we value. We are exchanging things for things that we value. No, we value, subjectively value. For example, you have 100 pesos, right? And so you really want this shirt, this blouse, for example, or shirt. And so your 100 pesos is valuable to you, but that blouse is more valuable to you, rather it's of equal value, and so you're willing to give up that 100 pesos that you have para sa blouse, right? But it's subjective. Why? A 100 peso para sa isa beggar could feed that person or his family for a long period of time, right? Noodles, noodles, noodles. So, but yung 100 pesos, he will not exchange it for a blouse or for a shirt because it's valuable for him. The money is too valuable for him because it stands for survival. No, saya in yung family. So that's exchange theory. Not only with money, but also with emotion. It's all an exchange. Even ang pag-eskwela ninyo, even ang pagbayad ninyo tuition. Yes, it's all an exchange. No? Bayad mo tuition, so you go to school. Not only do you get learning, but you get the formal and official transcript of grades. So inana lang. No? So you pay for that actually. You could use the argument that pwede mo ko maka-learn ani sa YouTube. Yes, of course. Pwede mo ko maka-learn ani on my own. Of course. But does it have an official record? Wala. And only schools can do that. So it's an exchange actually. Walay gansian. No, walay gansi. So that's exchange theory. No? And lastly would be the uh, hierarchy theory in sociology. Hierarchy theory suggests that there is a hierarchy. There always is a hierarchy, and in every interaction that we have, we form hierarchies. We form complex hierarchies, that important things above or complex things above, then basic things below. So hierarchy theory, we always create hierarchy within societies. And why is that? Because we needed the hierarchy. We needed the hierarchy so that we could function as is. We cannot have a society without a hierarchy. Dili pwede. Dili pwede walay pobre. Dili pwede wala po'y dato. It's something, dili pwede nga ang isa ka group of people walay mo lead. So that We could make the argument na sige, wala ko na to ang government. Sige, because they're so corrupt. We have the junk terror bill and everything. Yeah, sige, sure, let's junk terror bill. And then let's junk the whole government. No? Then what would happen after that? Who would lead us? Who would lead the people? Who would lead the nation? If you would read The Lord of the Flies, it's one of those most amazing concepts sa hierarchy theory nga ma-apply because what would happen sa idea na it would be if walay mo lead, then everyone would lead. And if everyone is uh, given the freedom to express their own intentions and express their own rights, ilahang inherently given rights, what would happen is that there would be chaos, right? There would be chaos. Why? Because nobody is leading, and so nobody is setting the boundaries for something. So without a hierarchy, societies fall into chaos. So, mo po nang dili masabtan sa mga rioters. So kung kanong sa US karon ga riot sila, it's easy for them to break down the business institutions. But what they don't understand is it took so long for those institutions to be built, and it can't be replaced right away. You want to replace an institution, fine, that's good. But one of the things that you should remember in a hierarchy is that those institutions took a very long time to be established. And dili siya inanakadali ma-replace. You replace it with what? Sige, I'm not pro with police brutality. No, they are brutal. Grabe ang cases of brutality in their department. Yes, but then again, they don't represent the whole department, the whole police department. There are police brutalities there is sa Pilipinas, but those cases do not necessarily represent the whole institution. And we need this institution. You cannot just trash away this institution because some few people within this institution failed to do their jobs correctly. So those are the hierarchies. Those are the theories that we have sa basic sociology. Okay, that's all.